It was years ago when J.K. Rowling first came under fire for her speaking out about trans women invading space, or should I say, men who identify as trans invading women's spaces. And she caught a lot of hell for that. There was people that wanted her canceled. There's people that wanted her killed. And some of the people who she turned into superstars, who made it so they would never have to work another day in their life, they were some of the people who came out against her. People like Daniel Radcliffe, people like Emma Watson. Well, now, a couple years after the fact, and in the midst of all of this left-wing violence, and in the midst of J.K. Rowling getting massive threats daily, everywhere, about people wanting her dead, Emma Watson, who's kind of been out of acting for a while, just decided to take some time to herself. She does this interview. Her stance on J.K. Rowling seems a little bit softer than it was before. I wonder why that could possibly be. The Emma Watson J.K. Rowling feud has never really gone away. From the moment J.K. Rowling made headlines in 2020 for her views on sex and gender, you mean that biology is real, the cast of Harry Potter was pulled into the fray. Emma Watson, Daniel Radcliffe, and Rupert Grint all issued statements that distanced themselves from the author who created the wizarding world and their young careers. J.K. Rowling didn't back down when it came to that, and now Rupert Grint pretty immediately, his stuff wasn't as harsh as the other two, and he came around more quickly than they did. But she basically said, I'm never going to forgive Daniel Radcliffe and Emma Watson for coming out and saying the things that they said at that moment and completely throwing her under the bus. Well, now it looks like Emma Watson might want her to forgive her. This is a statement she made on this podcast. It takes her a while to get to this, and it makes you wonder how much of this is coming from the heart, how much she's trying to massage her message. Has she really kind of changed her mind on this? Or is this kind of about where we are and how things feel so much more different now than they did a couple years ago? But here's Emma Watson talking about this backlash and talking about the gap between them and all this shit.
I really don't believe that by having had that experience and holding the love and support and views that I have mean that I can't and don't treasure Joe and the person that I had personal experiences with. I will never believe that one negates the other, and that my experience of that person I don't get to keep and cherish. To come back to our earlier thing, like, I just don't think these things are either or. I think it's my deepest wish that I hope people who don't agree with my opinion will love me, and I hope I can keep loving people who I don't necessarily share the same opinion with.
Well, she was trying to tread around some eggshells on that statement, wasn't she?
100%.
Like, well, I think maybe.
And you have to wonder kind of what is instigating that. Is that because a couple years have gone by and she feels a little differently now than maybe she did before, and she regrets kind of throwing her under as hard as she did? Is it because the way these vile leftist trans activists are murdering people, and maybe that's something that's getting her to, who fucking knows, right? She did go on and continue to say that, later on in that, she's open for dialogue, even though she doesn't agree with people that believe differently about trans people than she does. She said specifically, there's no world where I would ever cancel her out or cancel that out, and reiterated how grateful she was for the opportunity to play Hermione and all of that shit. It's interesting that it is a completely changed stance in terms of J.K. Rowling 5 years after the fact. You just have to kind of wonder why that is.
When culture shifts, so do Hollywood people at times too, don't they? When they start to see the cultural shift on what they were fed that was popular, like back in 2016, 2020, all that stuff, when they were trying to feed us to, like, I'm not saying her specifically, but like a lot of the rhetoric that comes out of Hollywood, where it was just, wear a mask, get a shot, do this, do that. And then culture starts to shift a little bit. People are a little angry. They put a lot of pushback around the Charlie Kirk thing. And we've seen a lot of people losing their jobs, which they probably wouldn't have lost their jobs, I bet, if they celebrated the same way about 4 years ago. Now, you know, so they could smell a little shift. So maybe they're just trying to carefully be on the right side of culture. Maybe,
but on the same, but in the same way, she also can't be too opening, because then she'll get attacked by those very same freaks. You know what I mean? Like
absolutely.
those
That's what I'm
eggshells you were
saying.
talking
Like
about.
there's a soft spot, you know, like where she's trying to walk. Interesting. I don't know. Maybe she's seen the light. She got a little older and like checked the goob. And saw the light. I'm not gay no more. I've been delivered.
I've been delivered.